Welcome to I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. First round of the NBA draft is in the books, folks. Lot to discuss. I thought it was a hilarious NBA draft. Tyson and I offline are talking about some of the funniest things, and we're going to kind of break it all down, going through the lottery, going through the rest of the first round, giving our thoughts, what stood out. We're going to give you just our first reaction to who we think got better and some of the biggest surprises that happened in another quirky NBA draft. Tyson, what did you make of the first round? I'll start there.
Dude, if we're going to give them the finals, can somebody else host the NBA draft? Can we get it on a different channel? Like, it's crazy. Like, every year ESPN does something crazier than the last as far as, like, that was hilarious, and nobody seems to notice.
Dude, it was so bad this year. Like, everybody online, and I know online and social media is not, like, the most positive place, but literally every single person was like, this is so bad. And it was. Like, I couldn't remember a worse NBA draft coverage. ESPN, I'll do this for free. Malika Andrews, I don't have anything against her, but Scott Van Pelt should be hosting. Bobby Marks needs to be on there. How about the guy who was built a dynasty in the Warriors? How about him instead of Kendrick Perkins? Would that be good? Then Jay Billis, because he actually watches college basketball, unlike these guys. And then Shams Charania with your insider report. There you go. That's your five. That's what you should do going forward. It was so, like, nobody knew what they were talking about. But I digress, Tyson. We have to give a congratulations to Colin Cowherd for getting selected in the first round. I mean, this was a complete clown show.
It's crazy. I mean, nobody had him anywhere on their big boards, and dude, he goes in the lottery.
All right, that's enough bloviating. Let's get into the cold hard reactions here as we go through the lottery. And of course, Cooper Flagg, number one overall pick, like everybody expected by the Dallas Mavericks. He's the new face of the franchise. Kyrie Irving, the news that he opts out. They're going to sign an extension, so they have things going there in Dallas. We've done a ton of extensive dive into Cooper Flagg. We don't really need to go further on this, but I will ask this question, Tyson, because I've seen it circulating around. What is the successful ceiling for this to be? The Cooper Flagg thing lived up to his potential. Is that going to be like people are throwing out MVP stuff? Is that how many times he's going to win MVP? Is he going to be a multi-time All-Star? Is he going to make the Hall of Fame? Where do you land on that? I think you're muted here, Mike Tyson.
Mute, sorry. There we go. Unplugged, it was the whole thing. But to be determined would be my answer on all of that stuff. But what is it? It's like 7 of the last 15 number one overall picks have been All-Stars. Dude, we change what being a superstar means all the time. And so is Cooper Flagg going to be a superstar? That's up to you. But I think he's going to be a really good NBA player. I think he's probably going to be a multiple-time All-Star, and he's going to be able to play right away. This was easy. Like, there's no – what are we going to say that people don't already know about Cooper Flagg? This is the best player in high school, reclassifies, best player in college. He just keeps finding the bigger gym, like you said.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to be really good, and that'll be fun to watch. Second pick, like everybody expected, Dylan Harper out of Rutgers, goes to the San Antonio Spurs. I think there were clear 2 tiers here. Cooper Flagg, the surefire number 1 pick, then the surefire second, so 1A, 1B, however you want to kind of diagnose that. Dylan Harper goes to the Spurs, and they get an interesting little 6'5", 213-pound wing, can kind of create his own shot. I'm curious to see how he factors into the Spurs immediately, but this is a guy next to Stephon Castle, who seems to be the backcourt of the future for the Spurs.
Yeah, which is great for San Antonio because they've been throwing assets at that point guard position for a little while, whether it was DeJounte Murray or De'Aaron Fox or whoever else. Like, Harper can play lead guard. And, I had forgotten a little bit how funny it was that Rutgers was about to have 2 top 5 picks and didn't make the tournament. And, this whole last month has just reminded me of the beauty of their college basketball season.
Where the real draft started, right? Because we knew Flagg was going 1. We knew Harper was going 2. Is 3 with the 76ers. And I do think so, Tyson, because I think there's a lot of people inside that building who were looking at Ace Bailey and saying we might need to pick him. I think there was a lot of people inside that building who said, maybe Trey Johnson isn't a bad pick here. But the 76ers go with 𝐕𝐵, 6'4" guard from Baylor, super athlete, super twitched up. This guy, listen, I said on the previous episode, Tyson, that he had to take Ace Bailey here. But all the stuff that came out pre-draft, and we didn't do a ton of pre-draft stuff. I mean, I was like, I'm way off of this guy. If you're the 76ers, you cannot take another pick with a guy who may not be interested in basketball. Like, I'm like, you got to draft somebody who cares. And they did that with Maxey. They did that with McCain. And then they did that with 𝐬𝐿. And I was texting you, well, they have 3 guys, maybe the most they've ever had on this roster since like the mid-2010s who actually care about basketball and actually want to try hard in the court. So I think this is, I don't want to say a home run, but this was the right pick for the 76ers when he talked about building a culture and kind of moving into the future.
Yeah, and if he's not scoring, he's going to get after you on defense. And his give a shit meter seems to be pretty high. And you mentioned the athlete part, and sometimes I think what's lost in NBA discourse is like they're all athletes, but this guy is like a high level functional athlete. It's not necessarily the guy that jumps 50 at the combine, but when he gets on the court, he can't do it. Dude, VJ is a freak.
Yeah, and he'll be. Jared McCain, not like a great athlete, but a great shooter, and especially coming off the knee. We'll kind of see how he moves around, but this is a protection guy on defense too, if you want to run those three out. So I like this pick. I'll be interested to see how he slots in immediately. He's going to be a day one starter. He's going to be kind of a microwave off the bench. So that's something that as we get in the summer league time. At 4 with the Charlotte Hornets, Tyson, 𝐾𝐭, the second Duke Blue Devil going in the top 5. This was surprising to a lot of people, I think, until draft day, when there was a lot of smoke that suggested the Charlotte's kind of enamored with 𝐾𝐭, and they're going to take him if he's available. And that's exactly what they did. We talked about just now the Sixers getting the culture. 𝐾𝐭 is going to go into Charlotte. He's going to work. He's going to develop. He's going to play hard. You know what you're getting from him night in, night out, day in, day out in preparation. I think this, if you want to move things going forward instead of being like, well, we're semi-pro, we just roll the ball out there and kind of have that attitude, 𝐾𝐭 is a good place to start.
Yeah, I think, where does he go if Cooper Flake doesn't get hurt in the ACC tournament?
Lottery, but I don't think it goes this high. No way.
I think that elevated him quite a bit. But and I agree with all the hard work and stuff, and he's going to play right away, shoot the shit out of the basketball. But like LaMelo Ball, 𝐾𝐭, and Brandon Miller, like how many points is anybody scoring on the Hornets?
It's going to be tough. I mean, because everybody looks at 𝐾𝐭 as like, oh, he's the white guy. I mean, he's 6'5", 220. Like, he's big, he's thick, he can play defense. And so I think he's going to be able to guard multiple positions. And even if he gets switched on to some of the bigger guys, Tyson, he's stout enough where I think he can go. I don't think he can go 1 through 5, but at least one of these 1 through 4 stretch fours that the NBA is running out there. So I think Charlotte got a lot more versatile with this pick too.
Speaking of 1 through 5, dude, this guy can play all 5 positions. He didn't want to go in the top 5. Who went next in this NBA draft?
Well, Ace Bailey, because Danny Ainge at 5 with the Utah Jazz just said, oh, but you don't want to come here? I don't care. I've selected you. And it's hilarious. If you want to talk about upside, which the Jazz need, this is a great pick. You get a guy who could potentially be the best player in this draft. On the flip side, you also get a guy who could be a mega bust. I mean, there's stuff circulating around, Tyson, when Giannis was doing some pre-draft workout stuff with Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, and he was not impressed by Ace Bailey at all. And it was like, uh-oh, that was a little bit concerning. And plus you bring in the attitude stuff, plus you bring in the agent stuff. It's like, dude, you're like literally two wrong decisions away from your career being looked at completely different. So I think going to Utah is actually like the best place for him, to be completely honest. What do you think about this pick, though?
Well, there's no way it's going to work. Like that's where my head goes. Whether Ace Bailey got to go to Washington or Brooklyn, these teams that was rumored that he wanted to go to, you don't do this. Like, you just don't. How many times have we seen this ever work out in the history of sports, let alone basketball? Big ups to Danny Ainge for being the one, and also like, how many of the other guys picking in the top 5 have the job security that Danny Ainge does, where it's just like, if it doesn't work, who cares? Like, I'm fine. I'm good. I would love it to work out. Like, I don't have anything against the kid, but like, surround yourself with better people. I mean, that's part of it. But if it works, it's going to be great. I don't think Ace Bailey is going to be in the NBA for very long.
I like it. I like the projection there, Tyson. I think somebody who is Trey Johnson, who was selected 6th by the Washington Wizards.
It was a clear top 6. You know what I mean?
For sure. Whichever order it was going to go was the determining factor.
Yes.
I actually think Washington, because Washington, if Ace Bailey is going to drop him, they're going to take him. This is a gift, in my opinion. I mean, listen, Ace Bailey's got huge ceiling, but Trey Johnson's a worker. All the stuff that's coming out about, what he did at Texas is impressive. 6'5", 190, pure shooter, pure scorer.
Worked out for NBA teams.
Which is a plus. And going over here to the nation's capital, they're starved of somebody, Tyson. They need somebody who plays the game. It's going to be able to be the face of the franchise, who can build around. I think the ceiling for Trey Johnson is that. I'm not saying MVP level. I'm not saying, he's going to be a leading scorer in the NBA ever, but the guy can be a multi-time all-star if he kind of matures what we think he can, what his ceiling is. And that's what Washington needs. So this is a home run for me.
yeah, Chris Middleton needs to get his hands on this kid right away, and nobody else in the Wizards locker room is allowed to talk to him. Like, hey, we're not doing this again. They've been up to some interesting stuff this offseason, but yeah, you got a shooting guard that can, again, shoot the lights out at prototypical NBA size. The Wizards need one of everything, so it's fine.
Marcus Smart there, and CJ McCollum there too.
Oh,
so
that's true. I forgot about the McCollum. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit more. I know. When I was thinking about what I was saying, I'm like, actually, it's a little bit more of a mature franchise than it's been for the past decade, which is impressive there. Continuing on, one that I think, Tyson, this is where we're getting to some question marks. Jeremiah Fears, the guard from Oklahoma, goes 7 to the Pelicans. This was a hot name coming into the draft, and you can see why. He's really athletic, can get downhill, explosive, but the problem is he's 6'3", 180, doesn't have a great jumper. Doesn't defend a lot. Is that who you want to take at 7 overall? Is that who you want to take if you're the New Orleans Pelicans? When Zion Williamson, if he's on the floor, you need spacing, you need shooters. But maybe you take the dynamic guard just in case, Zion doesn't on the floor, which is not a just in case type of thing. I'm having a hard time with this one. I thought it was certainly a choice, as the kids say online, for them to select Fears. What do you think of this pick?
Well, I think that they're making the bet that he turns into a high-level creator and at least an above-average shooter, which isn't a bet necessarily I'm in agreement with, because as soon as this came up, it was like a ball-dominant guard that can't shoot playing with Zion is going to be maybe a disaster. But again, maybe Zion doesn't play. Maybe they have other plans. Joe Dumars is cooking something up down there in New Orleans for sure. And Fears could be awesome. But like we said, Bailey could bust. I think Fears probably has the actual true bust potential of anybody within this top 7 of a guy that's just like, yeah, he's not what we thought he was going to be, but he could be like a high-level shot creator with the second unit, like as well, if that's the way his career plays out.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what his ceiling is, and that's what I'm struggling with, because you're doing these projections. What's the floor? Well, he's not going to be able to play because he can't shoot, right? And he's small. He's not like 6'7", can get to the rim. Like he's 6'3", he was able to do it against the Big 12. This is a different level. This is a different level, as we all know. His ceiling, though, I agree with you. Maybe he runs a second unit. Maybe he even is that combo guard that you're looking for in the starting unit. So we'll see Fears. But man, Pelicans, they're hoping that he hits. We'll go through another pick that they had later. But this is the one that's going viral online. Well, one of the two. The Nets with 8. One of their 5 first-round picks in this draft select Igor Dimin, the guard from BYU. And we talked about not being able to shoot for Jeremiah Fears. That is the number one issue here with Dimin. Now he's 6'8", 200 pounds. He's an elite passer, and everybody's talking about that. No, he makes his teammates better. But for this league to respect you enough that you can get those passing lanes off, you got to be able to hit shots, and that's the biggest question mark here. Tyson, he's a project, and at 8, you're the Nets. Is that what you want to take here? That's what I have a hard time with as I look at this pick.
Do you think the Nets taking him at 8 means that the Nets think he can play point guard?
I think that's what they think, for sure.
Who's he going to guard?
You're hoping 1 through 2 at least. I mean, I don't know. He's tall enough, but Tyson, is he strong enough?
Proposition, brother. Like there's some really good guards. That's where my concern comes in. And then you mentioned the shooting thing, and everyone is like, well, if once the driving lanes get bigger, once he's in the NBA, it's going to be different for him. Like the passing lanes are going to get open as well, and he's going to dominate. It's like if you can't shoot, those lanes aren't opening up. Like you have to earn the respect, and maybe he can do it. This just felt, dude, the Nets had everyone is dunking on the Pelicans. The fact, first of all, that Brooklyn took all their picks is like malpractice in and of itself. But then to spend it the way that they did, I think Brooklyn might have been my biggest loser yesterday.
It was interesting, that's for sure. At 9, Colin Murray-Boyles, the forward from South Carolina, real riser in this one. I mean, not a lot of people are familiar with them or were familiar. He played for South Carolina and loaded SEC, wasn't getting a ton of buzz there. But, tough guy, rangy, thick. This feels like a Raptors pick. You're looking for the next Siakam. That's what they got. Although he didn't seem happy that he was selected by Toronto. I don't know if you see that video that was going around saying the F word when he got selected. I don't know. Was it taken out of context? Yada, yada. Who knows? But what'd you make of this one? This came a little bit out of left field, in my opinion.
I mean, first of all, Zach LaVine was crying like tears of sadness when he got drafted by the Timberwolves. Those were not tears of joy. This happens all the time. Like, who cares? Does he fit better than Scotty Barnes?
No, Scotty Barnes is Rookie of the Year winner.
No, but genuinely, like, I don't know if he fits, like, how well. Yes, it is a Raptors pick, but it's like, where else were they going to go? I mean, you could talk yourself into like some of these other guys or trade out, but it's the exact kind of guy that Toronto has brought in a bunch of times, and it's worked out for them a bunch of times. It's just like maximizing who he is. I feel like the roster might not be there right now.
At number 10, as part of the Kevin Durant trade, the Houston Rockets sent this back to Phoenix, and they got 𝐬𝐫𝐽, the center from Duke. And we were talking about in the Durant trade, hey, you're saying let's pray for 𝐬𝐽. Well, Tyson, let's spin this in here too, because not only did the Suns get their center and 𝐬𝐽 for the future, but they also traded for Mark Williams, shipping the number 29 pick out in the first round and a 2029 first-round pick to land the center from Charlotte. So they doubled up on 2 Duke centers. How about that? Where are you at now? You can kind of see the vision here for the Suns. And, of course, they had the rest of the draft, but we're only talking about the first round. And in this pick here, they got 2 big guys. That was a huge thing for them.
Yeah, going into it, it was like, okay, they have all shooting guards on the roster, and like nobody, to protect the rim, which was a problem last year. It's been a problem for a while, and they got 2 really good ones. 𝐬𝐽, I'm sure everybody's heard by now, only playing basketball since he was 19 years old, and all of the hard worker stuff and what he was able to do at Duke. And there is a lot of projecting with him. That's like, if he does get to this level, he could be X player or whatever. But it's like, maybe he's just a rim running big. Like, he was really good at that at Duke. Shot 71%, like over half his shots came on dunks, and that'll be fine. Booker hasn't gotten to play with a guy like that. And if he does, it's a swing for the fences, but hit a double kind of pick, which I think is the goal at 10. And then with Mark Williams, it's like, if it works out, you paid 50 cents on the dollar for a really good NBA player. And if it doesn't, that's it's fine. It was a 29 first and a 20, the worst of the 2029 picks, I think it was. And so it's like, whatever. At 29, it's your boy Liam, and I'd rather have Mark Williams. So if Phoenix is somehow able to convince the NBA to let them trot out 3 shooting guards and 3 centers, they might go 82-0. Dude, they'll have a 1-player advantage.
It'd be sick. I mean, dude, the Twin Towers, and you just go shooters and book. Like, that'd be awesome. At 11, this is where we start getting into the quirkiness of draft night, because Cedric Coward goes up there, and I'm sorry, Colin Coward. Oh no, Cedric Coward goes up there. I thought this was a great pick for the Portland Trailblazers, selecting him at 11. This is a meteoric rise here from a guy who committed to Duke in the transfer portal, coming from where he came from, transferring into Washington State, didn't play, got hurt, and then he's like, all right, I'm going to transfer. I'm going to go to Duke. I'm just going to put my name in the NBA draft hat and go to the combine. Whoa, everybody gets a peek at the 6'5", 215-pounder who's rangy, can shoot, can play defense, and is a great, great kid when everybody's just raving about him. And he gets selected in the lottery at number 11. We think to the Portland Trailblazers, who we said before we got on here, that's the winger they've been looking for. They love Jeremy Grant, even though Jeremy Grant's like, we're all like, really? This was the guy they wanted. No, Tyson, they trade him to the Memphis Grizzlies in a shocking turn of events, because we'll get into 16 here. But let's talk about Cedric Coward as the prospect here. Going to Memphis more so. What do you think about the possibility of him teaming up with Ja and him teaming up with Triple J's?
Well, I think the team could be good. First of all, the NBA makes no sense to me anymore. It's like, you got those first for Desmond Bane just to use them immediately. Like, you didn't even wait like 2 months. So this is crazy. But like you mentioned, D3, dude. I mean, no disrespect to like RJ Hunter, because you remember when he kept rising, or Jason Preston, who went to Ohio and he goes in the second round. It's like, this is really cool. This is the epitome of that hard worker, all of that stuff. But like, him and Jalen Wells on this team might be able to impact winning like right away if you're Memphis, which I think is the goal. Is he the third piece of the big three? No, dude, not right now. But maybe someday, like if you replace some of the shooting you lost with Bane, and he's got a heck of a high ceiling, it seems.
Yeah, no, I think he has a chance to be really good. I'm talking all-star level. Like, they just don't make guys like this, that fluid, that big, with that body type. And he looks like a little bit of a Kawhi Leonard. Now, we don't do a ton of like draft comps or like, oh, this guy looks like this, because it's all ridiculous. But Cedric Coward looks really good, man. If he can stay healthy, I think Memphis has a special one. And it got even funnier. And we'll jump ahead here because at 16 to complete this trade, we're all like, all right, so who's Portland one? We think they gave up a really good winger. They draft 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐽, the center from China. And Tyson, to add to this, has been fine. He's sitting in the freaking stands up like, hey, it's me, and walks down. Everybody's like, what the hell is going on around here? One of the craziest things. It was like hilarious. I'm cracking up watching this thing. I think the people were shocked. Adam Silver looked shocked. Internet goes ablaze. They're calling 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐽 the Chinese Jokic. He's 7'1", 253. You look at his tape, it looks pretty good. This is a colossal disaster for the Portland Trailblazers, Tyson.
If he, like I said to you before we got on here, it's like he had to have looked like prime Shaquille O'Neal or something in these workouts for this guy to have flown all the way up here. It felt like if Portland really wanted him, they could have gone backwards again. And we're cheering, dude. It would be so sweet if he was just like the third best center in the NBA next season. He's averaging 20 and 10, 5 blocks a game or whatever. But how does this roster look now? Like, are you going to chart out him and 𝐤𝐭 and just have two giants? Like, what happens to Ayton? Are you going to put *𝐻𝐾 on Shadon's shoulders or something to run the point guard and just try to go 10 feet across the board? This thing makes no sense.
You would expect Ayton to maybe be traded, Robert Williams III to be traded. There's got to be some movement here because they freaking got 5 big guys. I mean, it's insane. I don't know the direction up there in Portland, so we will see what happens. Maybe he looks great in Summer League too. I don't know. Is he a draft and stash? Is he going to play? He's going to develop probably a G Leaguer. We'll see. But let's keep going through the lottery here before we get to the rest of the first round. 𝐿-j·'ONE, I believe is how you pronounce it, the forward from France, getting selected 12th overall by the Chicago Bulls. Hey, 6'10", 204. Bulls have been on a little bit of a run with the international flavor here, Tyson, and I might as well keep it going.
Yeah, they have, and this is the time of the draft to do it. Like this happens every year, where it's like guys that none of us have really seen, their highlights start floating around, and then it's like this guy might be the best athlete in the draft, and then they get to the court with all these other dudes that got drafted, and it's like he's athletic, but it's not the same. Right. So I'm hesitant to be like, this is crazy, but dude's been playing professional basketball for a long. Like he's playing pro ball in Germany, I think, and if it works, the Bulls would be the team to hit on these guys right now.
Number 13, New Orleans traded up to go select Derek Queen, and this is the time when everybody's clowning on the Pelicans because they gave up an unprotected first-round pick next year. They could be awful this season. You know what I mean? Like this is tough. Derek, and I think what people and Bill Simmons is going crazy, and all these other people who are doing reactions are going crazy.
10 years.
Now, Shams Charania went on the Pat McAfee show, and he's like, well, you don't know. Like, he could be great, and, maybe we're looking back past this in 3 years, and we don't even remember it because Derek Queen's great. You're right. Maybe. But maybe the Pelicans are freaking awful, and they just gave up, like, an unprotected first-round pick for Derek Queen, who, like, seems to be good. But, again, there's real question marks about him. I mean, the body's not great. Can he knock down a 3 consistently? There's legit questions. And Tyson, I go back to this. Everybody's like, well, but the Pelicans might be good. This is the same team that like put their chips in the center of the table by trading for DeJounte Murray last year. He gets hurt. Zion gets hurt again. And they freaking sucked then when they were trying to be good. Now they're going to try to be good this year, but that's not a guarantee, especially in the West. I mean, this was a crazy, crazy trade. And it's not like you're getting a game changer, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Derek Queen could be a multi-time All-Star. Derek Queen could be awesome. But this is a huge risk, and it's one that I think if you're the Pelicans, you should have been adverse at taking, but maybe they know something we don't.
Well, they better, because like we talked about, maybe Fears doesn't fit. Then how the hell does Derek Queen fit in this whole thing? Like, I don't know what Joe Dumars is cooking up. He said that when you identify a guy that you think can, change your team and the trajectory, you go get him, and we understand that, but you didn't need to ship off that pick. We don't need to get into that, but it's like, how many non-shooters can you put on one basketball team and can expect to compete in this NBA? And how many guys, dude, Zion and Derek Queen need to stay far away from each other as they can. Because these two dudes get together, dude, they got to up the food budget.
Oh, no. Okay, closing out the lottery. How about the Spurs taking Carter Bryant, forward from Arizona, 6'7", 215, high motor guy, 2-way potential. Is he the best 3-and-D? Blah, blah, blah. this is a solid pick. Is this a replacement for Keldon Johnson? Potentially. It's just another high IQ basketball guy. Spurs are going to bring him in. Spurs are going to stash him. He's probably going to be a G Leaguer to start. And then is he going to be able to play in the wing? Probably. I think Carter Bryant is an NBA player. What is his ceiling? I'm not quite sure, but I think he can have a role in the NBA, especially on a team like the Spurs who want to be competing for championships down the line.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that at some point his NBA numbers will be better than his numbers were at Arizona, because that's everybody's talking like 6 points and 4 rebounds. It's like, this is the NBA draft. Do you not pay? This is what happens. This guy's a freak athlete. He's 19 years old, 6'7". Look, he was always, I think, going to go to San Antonio or Oklahoma City, and it was like, okay, so he's just going to be a good pro. Because if he gets at 16 originally, it was Memphis, and it was like, now we're getting a little scary where he might get scooped up by somebody where he only averages 6 points in his NBA career, but they're going to turn him into a good player.
Let's go into the rest of the first round, Tyson. Just some stuff that stood out to you and I. I mean, of course, how about 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭 goes to the Miami Heat at 20. This is a guy who is the lottery all over him. Everybody's talking about lottery last year. There's a hot names from college basketball guys. Maybe his ceiling's not as high as all these guys think. Well, look at this potential. And it's like, yeah, but he wasn't that good. But everybody's saying since the Heat got him, it's a steal. He's gonna be somebody that I'm circling to keep an eye on.
I'm going to go back-to-back Illinois guys with Will Riley, to the Wizards at 21, because that's another, like, Keontae George or Keyshawn George last year. And it's like, look, eventually you got to draft guys that can play. And that's kind of the issue here. Like, he might end up really good, but, like, this is – how many times we've got to watch Illinois guys come in the league and just not be that good for us to helmet scout a little bit?
Yeah, no. How about national champ Walter Clayton Jr. going to Utah, him and Ace Bailey? At least, if anything, it's going to be exciting, Tyson.
Yeah, that's true. And I think Walter Clayton, like, he might end up playing for quite a while. He's a pretty good player. But I mentioned the Brooklyn Nets earlier, dude. What do you think of Drake Powell at 22? Don't laugh.
Dude.
It's insane.
Everybody's talking about him like, oh, this is a first-round guy. Now, we both do NFL and NBA. NFL first round is different than NBA first round. We know that. Man, I just don't know about this guy, Tyson. I mean, listen, he's got 6'5", 200. He can do everything. He's the archetype on the wing, 3-and-D. I just didn't see a ton last year. And to go to Brooklyn, of all places, is where you're supposed to flourish and start your career. That's scary hours.
Does Brooklyn think that they have the best shooting coach of all time?
I think
that's kind of the way that
this
draft feels. Like, they're going to teach all these guys how to shoot.
Or they're going to think they all know how to shoot, or Sean Marks thinks he's the genius. I don't know. Like, we kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt before, but it's starting to get like, whoa, dude, what's going on here? Last two things that stood out to me, Tyson. One will be selfish at the end, but one I want to get your thoughts on. The Jace Richardson thing, he goes to the Magic, and I actually think that's interesting. Is that kind of the Cole Anthony replacement off the bench that people are talking about? High IQ basketball player, could make some plays. The problem is he's 6'1", and he's not a great athlete. Can he run a second unit? I think that's his ceiling. What do you think of Jace going there?
I think, to me, he feels more like a combo guard at best than like a guy that's going to, run an offense. And I think that's scary when you're 6'1", but we were slurping the Magic a little bit after the Bane trade, and they need like backcourt depth, and they need like shooters. And I think that he checks at least one of those boxes, and he probably checks both. You can't, be too upset at that this late in the draft. But this dude was mocked all over the place, and it was always
all
like,
over.
He's going to end up mid-20s, and he's going to go to a good team, and then everybody's going to be able to say, well, I had him as my number 9 player in the draft.
Right, for sure. It'll be interesting down there in Orlando. He's kind of out of sight, out of mind. Can he develop with the rest of the guys? That'll be interesting. Last thing that stood out to me, Penn State, first time ever, a first-round basketball draft pick, Yannick Hnizerhauser. Now, it's a great story. It also completely crushes the program because he's our best player, and he's not coming back, and now we were in a little bit of a pitfall here. But to go to the Clippers, is he backing up Zubac? Are they looking to get rid of Zubac? He's a little bit more of a dynamic athlete than Zubac there. I don't know if he's going to be able to step in immediately and be, what Zubac provides, because Zubac has a really good offensive skill set. Niederhauser does not. But this is great for Penn State. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Well, I was dumping on the Nets a little bit, so talk me into your boy, Danny Wolf.
Okay, so why don't let's go to the biggest surprises here to talk about the Nets, Tyson, because we kind of hinted at it, and let's just because this was one of the biggest surprises, the Nets and their first round picks. Now you highlighted it.
Ridiculous.
We talked about 𝐸𝐵𝐷, but at 19, Nolan Traore, guard from France. So okay, 6'3", maybe he's really good, but we'll see. Then you take Ben Serif, the guard from Israel. Then you take we talked about Drake Powell just now. Danny Wolf at 27. Okay, that's your haul. I actually think Danny Wolf might have been the best pick out of all of them at 27 because 7 foot was a guard. He only grew in the 7 feet. Does that sound familiar? Oh, hello, Anthony Davis. Now, Danny Wolf is not Anthony Davis, but don't get me wrong here. But you watch him move, Tyson. Like when he's doing that dribble handoff stuff, like that was one of the reasons why Michigan was so good. Is because they're doing stuff that you can't really defend because you got the 7-footer in Golden, who's really like the more traditional guy, than frickin' Wolf, who's doing like guard stuff on the perimeter better than their guards sometimes. Yeah. So I think he is an intriguing talent. Is it going to translate? If it can't, then it was never going to work. But he's like the modern like big wing that you're looking for in the NBA. So if he can shoot well enough, he's going to be able to play. If not, it's just never going to work.
I don't know if he can shoot. And Brad, who the hell is he guarding?
It's going to be tough on the guarding thing.
It's going to be hard, dude. It's like they took a bunch of guys that can't guard and a bunch of guys that can't shoot, and just threw them into a pot. And they're hoping. I mean, look, at 29, who cares? Or 27, it's like if you miss, that's fine. But it's like trade the pick, get 4 future seconds, do something. Like this is that was crazy. So Danny Wolf stuck out to me a little bit on that. And then do you want to talk about the offseason the Atlanta Hawks have had so far? I thought the Newell pick, it was pretty good.
Oh, I think the Hawks have crushed everything they've done this offseason.
It's disgusting.
And I think that's the biggest surprise because we've made fun of the Hawks for freaking 5 years? When did they make the Eastern Conference Finals? It's been that long? I don't know. I mean, so yeah, the Porzingis trade, and then, man, I was talking to Tyson offline, and I was like, dude, I can't believe I'm saying this. I might have to put a ticket in on them to win the East. Is that where you're at after this draft too?
Dude, it's like with Boston, willingly taking a year off, it feels like the Pacers run was awesome. Halliburton tears his Achilles. Like the Knicks are just like don't want to make the conference finals again. By the way that it sounds, everybody's on the block. They fired their head coach. It's like, to me, I'm looking at the Magic and the Hawks, and I'm thinking I got to get it early.
I know. I was impressed by them. One more before we kind of get into who got better, Tyson. Were you kind of surprised the Thunder were awfully quiet? Now, they have a ton of picks next year, but it felt like this was a time that, oh, man, our guy is going to go out and be aggressive and he's going to get some stuff here. But I thought they were pretty quiet. That was a surprise to me, unless I'm reading this entire situation wrong.
Dude, they don't have any rotation minutes.
Stash and play, though? I don't know. Yeah. Thomas Swarber was an interesting pick, I think, though.
I think so, too. But I think that was, part of the reason is, we don't have any rotation minutes to give these guys. And it's really hard for Sam Presti to be – because if two is being floated for Kevin Durant, the Thunder could go out and they could get Dylan Harper. And it's like, that'd be awesome. But, then what? Now what do they do with the guys they've already actually paid? It's an embarrassment of riches, and I don't feel bad for them.
Let's close out here with just from this draft, who we think got better. Now, obviously, the Mavs did. You get Cooper Flagg, but we'll kind of go a different direction, and maybe this is a cop out, but because you have the 4 pick. But I think Con Knippel at 4, and then you trade for Lee McNeely at 29. That's a really good first round pick, or a first round in the draft for Charlotte, who needed to get more serious, who needed that dynamicism, who needed to get more skilled. I think those 2 players do that for him.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good one, but it's easy. It's hard right now. I think Washington, them getting out of here with an adult was good. I know I just dumped on the Will Riley pick, but again, late in the 20s in the NBA, who cares? And then I got to be a little bit of a homer. Phoenix winning with no centers, and they came out with the best one in the draft, and a guy who averages 15 and 10 in the NBA. He just doesn't play.
Dude, it's sick. I mean, Phoenix crushed it. New regime change. Tyson, you buying back in on the Suns?
let's see him play a game. There was a alert earlier today that Devin Booker is primed to sign another massive extension. So it'll be fun. I mean, look, when they win 35 games, it's going to look a lot better than it did last year because now there's like athletes on the team, and you can talk yourself into some of those guys. Whereas before, it's like, is Colin Gillespie, like, what's stopping him from being TJ McConnell? And it's like, don't start this conversation with me.
All right, let's get out of here. Like, subscribe, and share the show. You know, it's always a weird NBA draft, or it's always a weird NBA conversation when Tyson and I like what our favorite teams did. Like, what is happening here? It's not Groundhog's Day. It's made something new because the Sixers, I thought, did a good job, and Tyson just shouted out the Suns, which I haven't heard that in a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Also, as we close out the show here, Brad's boy John Tonji goes to the Utah Jazz at 53.
Oh, man, I was kind of hoping the Sixers would get him, to be completely honest with you. But like, subscribe, and share the show. We got a ton more content coming out of this. I mean, we're going to have some more trades. Tyson and I were talking, like, we need trade stuff. We'll kind of break everything down on that front because I think it's going to get pretty busy coming out of this draft season. And so we got you covered on that front. Getting into the summer months, we're going to start ramping up for football. So stay subscribed so don't miss a single thing we do. Smash that like button if you are watching on YouTube. Share it with a friend. Share it with an enemy. We'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.